All right, go ahead, Wolfy.
All right. Welcome back again to the 24 Down podcast. Very excited for tonight's episode. We are at episode 37, I think is what we're on to tonight, which is amazing. Real quick, just want to welcome our co-hosts. So, I guess introduce myself. We've got Wolfy, which is me. And then welcome to Andrew Kindler.
What's up, everybody?
What's up, Andrew? We've got the Podfather himself, Hat. Hey, Hat.
What's up, guys?
And then before we introduce our main guest for tonight, we also have a special guest, which some of you might remember, Kari. Hey, Kari.
Hello.
And so oftentimes when we had Kari, we also had Raven, who is our very special guest of tonight's episode. So hi, Raven, and welcome.
Thanks. I'm so excited to be here tonight.
This is like super exciting. And I didn't know Kari was going to be a part of this until earlier today. You told me, so that was kind of a fun surprise.
Are you surprised?
Well, yeah, I guess here's the thing. It was surprising because I was like, hey, Raven, let's get you on. And she was like, yeah, let's do it. And then today she's like, oh, I have a special guest, and it's Kari. And that wasn't a surprise that it was you, but so very, I think a lot of people are going to be excited for this episode. We've only had, I think, Colleen and Aaron, I think, have been the only, and Raquel have been like the only 24 Down girls. So it's good to get some feminine representation on here. But I know a lot of people were just kind of hoping to hear from you guys and you, Raven, specifically, just where you've been since school. So real quick, though, before we get into that, what years did you go to Valley Forge, Raven?
2005 to 2009.
Okay. So 4 years, just 4 years straight, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Kari, you were the same, right?
Yes. Yep.
And did you guys room together the entire time?
Yes.
Wow.
Are you guys actually in the same house right now?
Yeah, right.
We are about like 15 minutes apart from each other.
Nice.
Are you really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that. That's awesome.
And you guys did not know each other before Valley Forge, right?
Mm-mm.
Nope.
We met signing in at Solomon's porch.
We're gonna tell them the truth about how we met, our thoughts of each other.
Yeah, do tell.
Yeah, we obviously roomed together freshman year, and then one night we were discussing like the first time we ever met and just our similarities and our differences. And Raven's like, yeah, the first time I ever saw you, I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna like you. I was like, oh.
That's like probably more harsh than it actually went down.
But that's how I took it. All right, when you hear something, yeah.
Fair, that's fair.
Oh, goodness.
We like right before you move into college, like back in the day, they like sent us the paper with like your roommate's name and phone number. So like the first time we spoke, I was so ready to move out of my small town and go away to college. I didn't know what I was in for, but I was like so excited. And when I talked to Kari on the phone, she was like, yeah, I guess I'm excited. Like she was like just like really quiet and like seemed so unsure about the idea of like moving away to college. And I was like, oh my gosh, we were coming from very different worlds, which proved to be true.
Right.
Yeah, I was not ready for college. I was not ready to leave.
I think, and this is part of the reason I asked that question, if you guys had known each other prior, because speaking like for somebody like me who came in the year after you guys had already solidified your guys' friendship, and I think you could have fooled anybody by saying that you guys had known each other your entire lives, as close as you guys were. So I think that speaks to your guys' friendship and the strength the bond that you guys had. So,
And the fact that you live 15 minutes apart right now.
Yeah, I mean, even after college, we lived in Pennsylvania together. Then we moved down to Virginia and lived together until we met our husbands. We were finally parted.
And when we got married, when we were each first married, we lived the walking distance away from each other in the same neighborhood.
So you guys
Yeah.
are like the female English twins. You just can't get away from each other.
Kari actually married. I met my husband when we first moved to Virginia, and Kari married his longtime friend.
Oh.
So our husband.
I was the third wheel for a while when they were dating. I'd go and hang out with them at like a bar and stuff, and that's how I met my husband.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome though.
Well, like your baby's like, wait, what'd you say?
Let me carry a car.
Oh yeah, and we forgot to introduce. We also have another special guest, and his name is Brooks.
That's right.
Correct.
Yep.
And he's what, 4
It'll be
months?
5 months this month at the end of the month.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And then Hat, did you bring one of your babies? Or you...
Nope, I left them all in the other room.
Well, you can always make more.
That's true. Yeah.
His are all thrown in the closet. He just leaves them in there.
Oh man. All right. Well, Raven, we'll let you kind of talk for a little bit here, and just I know you guys alluded to some of it, but why don't you share just what you've been up to since graduating Valley Forge?
Okay, so since graduating, I right away after Valley Forge went to grad school at Penn and stayed in Pennsylvania for another 2 years, and then moved down to Virginia. Kari and I both moved down to Virginia, and that's where I met my husband and started my career. I have been married to my husband now for about 6 years. We have 2 kids, Lucia, who's 4, and Benjamin, who's maybe 20-ish months. I work full-time as a literacy coach in a public school. So I support, this is kind of boring, you guys. I don't know how much of boring things you want to hear.
No,
but
we love it. We want it all.
Yeah.
So I'm a literacy coach, and
yeah.
and I love what I do. I feel like super lucky. I have a really great job. I support teachers' reading and writing instruction for grades K-6. And I love what I do. And I actually just officially accepted a new job today. So I will be working in central office for the school division, supporting equity and cultural responsiveness in schools throughout the division.
Well, congratulations.
congrats.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah, congrats.
So I got a question on that. So you said you met your husband when you went to Virginia, but can you tell us how you met him?
We actually met. So we moved into an apartment in August of 2011, August 2011. And we ran really quick to Walmart.
This is me and Raven and I got an apartment together, not her and her husband.
Not her and her husband that she doesn't know yet.
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
Good call.
Kari and
Good
I
call.
go to Walmart, and I met my husband at the Walmart.
Where? Give us more details. Where at
Okay.
the Walmart? I mean,
So you just to paint a full picture, we had just moved that day. I was like sweaty and grimy in a Phillies t-shirt, and Kari and I run to Walmart really quick to pick a few things up. And we had like passed each other a couple of times in the store, and then he got in line behind us, and I was like, oh no, like I'm not in any position to be talking to anybody. And so we checked out, and that was it. And then he like must have checked out really quick, because he came up behind us like as we walked out of the store, and he was like, excuse me. And he was like, I just have to tell you, you're so beautiful. And I was like baffled by it. And I was like, this guy is a liar. I should have known then. I'm just kidding. So, and then he just introduced himself. He's like, I'm Reggie. And I introduced myself, and I was like, I'm Raven. And that was it. And he walked away. And Kari, do you want to say what you said?
I looked at her and I was like, are you serious? Like, you're just going to let that go? I was like, the way you smell and the way you look right now, if some guy thinks you are beautiful, you need to get to know him. So we ended up chasing him down in the parking lot in our car. And she pulled up and was like, is that it? You're not going to ask for my number? And so
Did I say that?
yes, you did. And so he was like, here's my number. Like, but yeah.
Wow.
I think
So I was even a part at the beginning.
I think that's an awesome story. Like I love hearing stories of how people met, because every story is so different. You know, you watch the movies and TV shows and you see all these ways, and it's like, okay, that's not real life, but like all the real life ways are so much cooler. Like not many people can have the story that you had, and so I think that's really cool. And the fact that Kari was there with you, like that's very fitting as well,
And trust me, I tried the whole like picking up a guy at the grocery store thing. It did not work for me at all. I picked up some crazies.
Did you try at Walmart?
I didn't. Maybe that was the
It was
problem.
Walmart, that guy, right?
No, I don't think so.
What
One
lines
was, like-
did you use? What were your pickup lines, Kari?
Oh, well, I don't think I actually like. I didn't. I was more like looking in the eye thing, making the connection for him to talk to me.
Kari like walked by. She's like, "Oh, don't buy that apple."
Yeah. I don't know. I just remember one guy was straight up crazy. And Raven and I were driving one time because I had to totally lie to this guy to get him to stop bothering me. Like, I'm sorry, I was in a low point with my husband. Like, I shouldn't have given you my number and blah, blah, blah. This dude like pulls up beside us in the car one time. And I was like, oh my God, Raven, that's him. And he rolls down his window and was like, you still married? And I was like, yep.
That's hilarious.
So yeah, it didn't work out for me, but it worked out in the end, in the long run.
Man, I can't believe Reggie was just that bold to be like, hey, you're the most beautiful girl I've seen.
It's actually kind of ironic because, right, Kari, he's like very introverted. Like he's very shy. I'm like the outspoken one of the two of us.
Very much so. So it was very out of character for him now that we know him.
Do you guys ever just go back to Walmart and reminisce? Set up a table
I tried
with
doing
some
that
candlelight dinner?
I didn't do it.
I really did think about like at our wedding if like our favor should be like Walmart gift cards, but really was too much because at that point I was mostly lying to people and saying I met him at the grocery store. So, I didn't want to give anything away.
Oh, that's crazy. That's so
Yeah,
funny. I saw that on Facebook. I feel like you posted something a couple of weeks ago about it, and I was like, I want to ask that same thing. So I'm glad Hat did, because it is such a good story. So you can say that you actually use your degree from Valley Forge, right?
It's true, I do, yeah.
So what was your major at Valley Forge?
Early childhood education.
Okay. And with your new job, again, congrats. Is that still like, are you still working with young kids, early childhood, or is it a little bit older? Is it vary?
It's mostly I'll be supporting the school district, so like K-12.
Okay.
Yeah, but mostly working with adults.
Okay. Nice. And is that so? And like, what's like the specific title of the role? Did you say? Or, like,
Curriculum
description?
resource teacher in equity and cultural responsiveness.
Okay. So is that like more like diversity, equity, like
Mhm.
inclusion based?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. And that's something I'm assuming you're pretty passionate about.
Yeah, it's something I've been passionate about for a really long time. So it feels I feel really lucky to find like a professional intersection of a personal passion with my work. So
That's really cool. That's hard to find for most people. So that's
Yeah.
awesome that you have that.
And even, you know, the role that I'm wrapping up right now as a literacy coach, I really love what I do every day. I feel like I've kind of like hit the career lottery in some ways because I feel so fulfilled by my professional work.
That's awesome.
One of the crazy things too is you've got to be one of the few people that is actually using their Valley Forge college degree. You know, like some of us don't even have a Valley Forge college degree. So but no, I think it's really cool that you're actually using it. And I'd be surprised. Like, I mean, there's people that are obviously using it, but how many people that went to Valley Forge? I would love to know the percentage. Like people that graduated with a degree from Valley Forge, how many of them are using that degree for their profession?
Yeah. No, that's really true. But I have to give credit to my dad because I came in as a missions major. And when I went home that Christmas, my dad was like, I am begging you to pick a real job for your major. I was like, but this is so true, guys. My freshman year, I was like, but after I graduate, I just like want to move to Romania and like take care of orphans. And my dad was like, then get a degree to be a teacher. At least no matter what happens, you'll be able to find a job anywhere you go. But I was like, really, I hated it at first. I was like, I don't want to be a teacher. Like, that's not for me. So I'm really grateful. But you're right, Josh, because so few people walked out with something meaningful in terms of degrees. We all walked out with friends. So
yeah, for sure.
It's true.
Sure.
And most of us are still paying back the cost of our friendship.
Only 10, 15 years more to go?
Yeah.
Come on, Biden, let's do this.
I know.
Right.
I just found out that my student loan was sold to another place. And Nancy was like, it's because they're nervous they're going to be forgiven. So they're trying to get rid of their loans.
Probably true.
Interesting.
Mine have been sold so many times.
Same.
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, I think Bowdy, Matt Baldwin, even he like he came in a youth major because I graduated. My degree was in youth ministry. And I think like our junior or senior year, he even switched and started majoring in business and minored in youth because he was like, I'll literally take all the classes you take, and I'll get business classes too. And I was like, yeah, I don't care, whatever. I'm just gonna keep doing what I do. But I've got the paper, the piece of paper, so counts.
Must be nice.
Counts for something. Yeah. Cool. So we have a bunch of questions to ask you. But before we get into the questions, the one thing I did want to ask, and this could be for both of you guys, Kari and Raven, was really just like, when did you first get connected with the 24 Down family? Because this is the 24 Down podcast. We have something very special from college. I don't think a lot of people can say that there's 30. I mean, we've had 37 episodes, but that there's 30 plus people that they still can say they're friends with or remember or talk to from college. So it was definitely something unique. And what I love hearing too is just kind of like, obviously like Hat and Andrew came to school and lived on the floor. But for like myself, like for you girls, like you kind of got pulled into it from outside of the floor. So just hearing how like you guys first got connected, when or how did that happen?
I don't really know, to be honest. I don't have like a specific memory of like connecting with everyone. It feels like one of those things that just like always was.
Right.
I think we lived in building 3 our sophomore year, which was like perpendicular to 24.
Was that the apartment?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were in there with Christy, right?
Opened up to the grasp right before 24.
Who else was in there with you? Was it Christy?
Mm-hmm. And Helene and Teresa.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't think of like a specific time. But like I said, just know it, like our back door opened up to y'all's front yard where you hung out a lot, and
You were probably telling us to be quiet. Honestly, it's probably what happened.
You know what I do remember? Playing frisbee in the mud.
yes.
Oh yeah, that was like I loved playing frisbee.
That was like
outside
the
there.
beginning of that year, I feel like.
I think so too. Yeah.
I think I remember.
getting, like, I was getting mud out of my ear for like weeks later after that. I loved playing, but I hated what happened afterwards. It was terrible.
I think the first time, I think you guys were playing frisbee by yourselves, and then you were all like muddy, and you went to Walmart, and then maybe like Hat or Rizzo like walked up behind you and was like, "Hey, you're the most beautiful girl I've ever seen." Oh man, that's crazy. I mean, honestly, like I don't remember either really like the first time like that I went and like started hanging out with like people. Like I remember individuals that like I knew kind of that like got me involved with like the whole group and family and everything, but like I don't remember like a specific like moment. But do you remember like maybe like even like why, like what made 24 Down like such a interesting kind of group that you wanted to be a part of and connect with?
I don't know. I feel like it was, I don't remember like coming to Valley Forge, and I feel like I was like the perfect Valley Forge person coming into Valley Forge, and then that started to change, and I was like, oh shit, I don't fit in here. I was like, but before I got there, and like when I first got there, I was like the mold of, I think, like the student FCP. I mean, whoops, that's where I work. Of what Valley Forge wanted. And then like, you know, like the older you get, like you're coming into adulthood at those ages, and like my personal evolution didn't like match the person that applied to go to Valley Forge. And that felt okay with 24 Down. In a lot of other groups on campus, not necessarily like floors, but like other social groups or like groups of friends, they were still the person that I was. And it felt safe to just kind of like evolve with 24. And it felt like, I don't, it's like cheesy to say like judgment free, but like I feel like everyone in 24 just kind of like presented as who they were, and less like of a farce than like many of the other people that I interacted with on campus.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's funny because that's like pretty much what I think I said to Hat like when we did my episode 2. Like it was just like I like completely agree. Like it's almost like you come into Valley Forge like you're going to summer camp and you're like, yeah, let's do this. This is gonna be the best. Like we're gonna worship every day. And then by like week 2, you're like, oh, chapel again? Are you serious? Like, and it just eats away. And I like, but like you said too, you grow up like in college and you learn who you are as a person. And like Valley Forge had that mold that they wanted people to fit, and if you didn't fit it, like it was difficult. But like 24 Down, like we didn't care. Like we literally accepted everybody like as they were, which is, you know, what made it comfortable like to be a part of. Like we would have taken anybody, like as long as you wanted to be a part of our group and you were a good person, like you were accepted in. And that was, I think that's what differentiates. I don't think you could get that everywhere at Valley Forge with every person or every building or whatever. Yeah.
So I mean, one of the things, and well, first of all, like Raven, I completely agree with you. Like those of you listening, believe it or not, like I too came to Valley Forge as like the perfect model student. I know that's going to shock some people, but like really, like I had never had a sip of alcohol. I'd never smoked a cigarette, like whatever. So I went down the drain quick, but that's just a little side point. But I guess to me, again, coming a year after you guys, I remember like for me specifically, and this is nothing against some of the other girls, like, you know, Helene and Teresa and some of the other girls, but specifically, I remember Raven, Kari, and Aaron being such a part of 24 Down when I got there. I shared this a little bit on the flag burning episode about how when I came in to school, me and the Brazilian twins got really close really quickly. And we almost felt like 24 Down wasn't not including us, but we were new and we were like, okay, how do we fit in? But I remember even feeling like that the three of you girls were just as much a part of 24 as anybody else. So like, I feel like, again, for the three of you specifically, like you guys just solidified at some point in that first year, solidified yourself as just as much of a part as of the group as anybody else. Cause I remember thinking that like, oh, these girls, like they're like, here's more people that like I want to like get to know and be, you know, a part of this group. And you guys were in that mindset as well. So
I want to say I loved how you worded that. Like the way you worded about feeling accepted at 24 Down, and you said like 24 Down was okay with you changing, and you felt like you felt like you were okay to be yourself there, and then you said you could evolve with 24 Down. Like that like really struck me because I don't think I've heard it put so eloquently. Like that's what I always have like wanted 24 Down to be when I was a part of it. You know, when we were there, that's what I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be that place where people could be themselves. And I love the way you said that. So I just took it as a big compliment because I love that you think of 24 Down that way and think of, you know, of all of us as being part of that in your life, that we were there at that time where you were changing and growing, but we just loved you and accepted you as you were. So I just thought that was really cool.
And I think that still feels like it rings really true to me today, especially because, like I was saying when I first got on today, is like I'm a really different person now than I was even in 2009, even when I left Valley Forge and 24 Down. And so, in some ways, it feels a little risky to come and like talk with everyone, knowing I've changed so much. And yet, I still trust in that same vibe that I got, you know, over a really long time ago, over a decade ago.
It's freaking long ago.
That like it's safe. It's safe for me to come here. Evolving still.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's just good. Like it's just good to be able, like, I think that's just like something that like 24 Down helped me to carry like outside of college too. Like just to know like that really, like it really helped like to show like I can be who I want to be, like, or I can be like who I, not even who I want to be, I can be who I am, and it's gonna work. I'll be good, and like I can be comfortable in that skin, like no matter where I'm at in life. And it was very special then. It's still special now. Like that's where this podcast has been great because it's just so much fun to like, it's just great to like see you guys like after all this time. Literally, it's been over a decade since we've been in college. Crazy. Yeah, we're old.
I remember being with Colleen when she got her 24 Down tattoo. Carrie and I went with her.
Really?
Yeah, we were out there. It was like me, Carrie, and Colleen. And I remember thinking like, we were like, oh fuck. Like when sorry.
You don't have to apologize.
Raven, you can fucking do whatever the fuck you want, all right?
Feel at home here. I remember thinking like, oh, yeah. Listen, I'm a mom. I say the F word. I just care that my kids know where and when to use it. Like, it's not really a bad word. What is a bad word, right? But just don't say that at school, man. Like, or to your grandparents. Yeah, I remember thinking like, putting that on her body, like then like there's that thought. And also because I'm a really type A person, like what will that mean in a decade? Like what will that mean 15 years down the road? And it's wild to think that we're like in that space now. And 24 Down still has a significant meaning.
Yeah.
Like you could have never anticipated then, like right? Everyone hopes that they stay in touch. Everyone hopes that, but so much credit to you, Hat and Andrew and Wolfy, for putting together the podcast and like putting in the work, because that's hard, especially with so many people in the community. But you've built something that's worth returning to, and I think that says something about how it started.
You know, you belong in a literary job because your words are just so good.
You're so eloquent.
I know.
I'm like, me, fun, podcast, good. No, thank you. Hatch has popped off for a second, which is all fair because he's so humble and doesn't want to take credit for it. But yeah, no, you're right. Like you're thinking about like the tattoo, like yeah, like putting that on your body, like who's gonna remember that 10 years, 15 years from now? But like now, like this, like having it's like a rebirth of like our family and our group. And there he is. And like Hat like started all this, but like it wouldn't have happened without the pandemic. And not that the pandemic is a good thing, like it's the worst. We hate it, like we can't wait for it to be all done with and behind. But like it made everybody like refocus and say like, you know, what are the important relationships, like what do I want to put time into? And like this podcast has been an avenue for that. And you know, personally speaking, like just the contact that I've made with like, I mean, Raven and Kari, I probably haven't talked to you guys since I got married, which was almost 9 years ago.
No way.
Yeah.
You had a really fun wedding.
September will be 9 years. Oh, it was the best wedding ever. Sorry to everybody else, but it was the greatest wedding ever. We had it at a Walmart. It was no, I'm just kidding. But no, what I'm saying is it's just so cool to get reconnected. And like the 24 down like name that, you know, still like a name's just a name, but it's the meaning behind it. And like I bought like there's like logo wear and stuff now like that you can buy, which like even still I'm like, who buys like logo wear for their floor at college outside of college? Like it's 10 years. It's not like we were in like a fraternity, and it's not like it's Valley Forge logo wear. It's 24 down. But it's just cool. Like there's pride to it. And like even
24 downs on my resume. It's like, I'm just kidding. But like
you might want to take that off. Yeah. But it's just so
like
cool.
There's a little bit more weight than VFCC. So like,
that probably got you the job, honestly.
That is probably it.
They were like, if you can talk to those idiots, you definitely deserve this job.
Well, I told Wolfy before, I think I mentioned it before on the podcast, but I was talking to a guy at work a couple months ago, and I said something about, I keep in touch with some of my college friends. And he's like, oh, like how many? And I was like, wow, there's a bunch of us. And I said, there's probably like almost 20 of us now on the group chat. And I said, we've had, you know, like a podcast started, and we've had like 30 something episodes at the time. And he was like blown away. He's like, how long have you been out of college? I was like, I graduated 2008. So it's been 12 years now. And he was like, that's amazing. Like he was really honestly, like, he's like, I maybe talked to like one person from college. So again, I think what you're saying is true. Like what 24 down has, even though we lost contact a lot, but when we come back and there's small groups of people. So, but like when we all come back, it's just like going back in time and just enjoying the friendship and hanging out and just having a good time. So it is really special, like what we have here. So it's,
I think one thing is like, when you talk about the time frame where we had all kind of like fallen out, you know, it's not that we'd fallen out, but we weren't in contact as much. When you talk about that time frame, nothing changed in any of our, like, we all loved each other still the same amount during that whole time. We just didn't have the, you know, like life is life and it gets crazy and everything like that. And so now we, again, like Wolfy was saying, because of the pandemic, we were able to be like, let's touch base again. And I think it made us all realize, hey, like, we still feel this way. Like, why haven't we talked in so long? And now it's been like nonstop for almost a year now, which is incredible.
Yeah, that's good. Well, you want to get into some questions? Raven?
Ready.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get into questions. So the first question I have is from Aaron, and I apologize. I have to do an accent for this.
Oh my God. I already know.
So, yeah. So, gosh, I hope this isn't insensitive, but she says, Raven, do you want to know something, man?
Wait, we gotta stop there so I don't lose my job.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I can give you. So obviously an inside joke.
I feel like everything Aaron and I said to each other for the better part of 4 years was in like one of two different accents. So, and honestly, I have not talked to Aaron and I in a really, really long time.
Well, this is the opportunity. I mean, that's like one of the best things about this podcast too, is like just like it creates the avenue past like I feel like the awkwardness, even like the Wilsons, like Raquel and Michael. Like I was like, man, I hadn't talked to them since college, and like they, we heard their whole story on their podcast. It just like it was just like, well, great. Now the podcast gives me a reason to just say, hey, like,
yeah.
So you can message Erin, she can message you, like it'll probably happen. Then you guys will be talking, and then next thing you know, you'll be hanging out. Who knows? So, cool. Well, that was her only. I guess it was a question, but yeah. Anyway, I think Hat actually has the next questions.
All right, so I got a few questions here for you. These are questions that I've just kind of been asking everybody recently. So the first one is, what jobs, if any, did you have while you were at Valley Forge?
Like while I was attending school, like what jobs did I have? Like not necessarily at Valley Forge though.
Right.
At Valley Forge, I was a TA a couple years in the education department. And I also worked at the mall at Gymboree, the kids' clothes store. I think that's it.
Was that? Did you only do that your first year? Because I don't remember that, but that doesn't.
That was my freshman year. Yeah.
When you worked at Gymboree.
And then I think I was a TA sophomore and junior year.
Andrew, do you remember when she worked at Gymboree? Did she ever sell anything to you? I don't think he heard me. Did you?
What'd you say?
When Raven worked at Gymboree, did you ever go in and buy anything from her?
Gymboree?
Yeah, the kids store.
Oh, hey, man. I'm dealing with real life situations. My kid's school is calling, and you interrupt to ask me that.
Oh, shoot. We'll let Raven talk to him. She'll smooth it over.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I have someone who's very literal.
So what was it like being a TA? Like, what did you have to do?
I mostly just like graded papers. That's about it. It was fine. It was good. It was nice to work on campus after working off campus. Because when I worked at the mall, I would be there till like 11:30 at night. Some nights, like restocking and doing all that crazy stuff. Yeah. So I was glad to be done with that. I remember Kari working at Ariel's, and I remember I worked there when I was in grad school, but I don't think I ever worked there when I was still at Valley Forge.
I think you did Little Kickers with me too, didn't you?
Oh, stop.
I'm not kidding. Right? Didn't we do that?
That is true.
Ariel's was the gymnastics place.
Yeah.
Was Little Kickers like soccer?
Yeah. That was like, do you remember the United Sports Training Center? It was like out a ways.
I don't.
But yeah, we did like little kids soccer classes for a while there.
Or something. That's all it was. Like a Saturday job.
Yeah.
Did you guys put... Go ahead.
Was that the one that was out near King of Prussia?
No, that was a different. This was out like toward Downingtown.
Okay. Oh yeah. Yep, I know what you're talking about.
So that like reminded me because I'm and I mean correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like I remember that did you guys play on the soccer team? Did you guys play on the girls' soccer team?
That was me.
Raven, did you play on the Vive team though?
No.
Did you play soccer at all?
I mostly am like sedentary. The only sport I like to play out in nature is golf, because the lawn's well manicured.
But you taught soccer to children.
Yeah.
And
Hold on. Didn't you play on the Powder Puff team?
That is true. I did. Yep. Yeah. See, I have like, I'm not like athletic, but you know, I could like, I'm about teams. I could be on.
I always loved when Nate would always give her a hard time about like getting her hands dirty. And like when we were playing sports out in the front and everything, and she was like, because she just likes her nails manicured and kept nice, and Nate would always give her a hard time. And one time she just took her hands in the dirt and was like, see, I have dirt under my nails, are you happy?
Did you go back to your apartment and just like vigorously wash your hands?
I probably did.
Oh, that's funny.
We did intramural softball too. I remember. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that.
Yep.
You know, it's like a lot of these memories are fuzzy. Like I'm not that old, but like now I forgot about that until you brought it up.
It happens a lot.
Yeah. All right. So my next question is, if I don't know if you ever did the whole scan and scram thing, but if you did, what was your like go-to move?
I never did that.
You never scanned and scrammed?
No. If I was not going to chapel, I was not getting my ass out of bed. Like I would never get up and dress and then come back.
Fair.
I was just gonna like take the fine. Carrie and I were like the worst influences on each other. It's like a wonder that we like still had a career after we moved in together and started jobs, because we would like be on bunks and she would like lean over. She would like, "Are you going?" And I would be like, "I don't know. Are you going?" And then we would both be like, "Should we set the alarm for another hour?" "Okay, fine." Just like go back to bed.
We would even sometimes calculate how many like skips we had, so we wouldn't like go over whatever like our max skip.
Did you ever have to pay like the chapel skip fine? Did you ever skip enough that? Because it was like,
I don't think so.
I think it was $20. I think you got 15 free skips.
Yes, I think
over 15 you had to pay $20. What was that, Ray?
We probably rationed them well, because I don't remember. I remember paying tons of fines.
I mean, I can give you guys
chapel fines.
I can give you guys all the ins and outs of the chapel, because I knew it so well. It was 15 skips, which ended up being one a week. And then anything over you didn't have to take one a week. You know, you could save them up and whatever. Any one over 15 was a $20 fine. That is correct. There were exemptions, like you could be work exempt, and they would allow you to miss chapel for an additional 3 days a week. So technically now you get 4 days a week that you don't have to go to chapel. And your fifth day you scan and scram. That's the pro tip right there. And you just never go. But yes, so you are correct. It was 15 skips and it was $20 a pop at over 15.
Pat, just imagine if you applied yourself like that to class, man. Like
right. Right.
Yeah, I think I always ended up with like $100 in chapel fines or something, like outside of every semester or something like that. Like I was just, but I brought it up on Harshberger's episode. We just like, I think our senior year, Kari and Raven, like the first month, like the chapel scanners went down, and so like they couldn't keep track at all, and like just nobody went to chapel. And I think I still got a fine by the end of that semester, even having a month off of having to scan in. Like I still ended up the,
I like sometimes think of the Jesus that Valley Forge taught me to believe in, and like the one that takes attendance at church is just not the same Jesus I believe in now. Like,
Don't they always say
see
Jesus is
with
watching?
a clipboard up at church, like attendant raised hand offering. Like,
That's
that is
awesome.
the God of Valley Forge, and like again, has been part of my evolution.
Yeah. So I have to follow up, because you said you got a lot of fines, but maybe not chapel fines. What kind of stuff did you get fined for at Valley Forge?
Everything else.
I feel like we were targeted.
We once in our apartment in Building 3, we had an entire wall wallpapered with the paper from fines.
Like what? Like what else? Like
noise.
Clearly you guys were like, the like the new academic building must have been like all from your fines that they funded that with. Like,
you know what's crazy is like I was such a rule follower before coming to Valley Forge, and then like you break like one rule. I reflect on this story sometimes, like in my like own personal life.
mm-hmm.
Is like I like broke a rule, and Valley Forge is like, shame on you. And then I feel like really quickly, like my whole personality about like being a rule follower and like always wanting to like check all the dots, I was like, I guess I'm not anymore. So like, what do I have to lose?
Right.
And then all the fines. So like, I remember one time I had like a political poster in my window and I refused to take it down. So I got fined for that. And then they still made me take it down.
What? I think Telesh talks about that on his episode.
Oh, really?
He did mention something about a student that had a political poster.
It was like because it was a like Democratic Party political poster, and somebody was like, they need to take that down.
Dare you?
I know.
Yeah.
One time we had it was like for some like ed class thing. I had like this red light, and I thought it was funny to put it in the window. So it kind of like looked like the red light district.
Well, you put a lot of things in the window, because then you got in trouble for having the hula hoop in the window too.
But yeah, I got fined for that.
Oh, hula hoop. That leads to dancing, and dancing leads to
I need to know, what was the reason that a hula hoop would get you a fine?
She's throwing gang signs out we don't even know about. Hula hoops.
I know, right? Because it was like it like messed up the appearance of the campus.
Because we were like right.
It was probably holding the building up.
Who was your RA? Was it your RA that gave you fines
at that time? Oh, my RA would like call. I remember back, like she would like call the apartment phone, and someone would pick up, and she would be like, "Can you put Raven on the phone?" There were like 6 of us that lived in the apartment, and I would like get on the phone. She was like, "I know there's a boy in the apartment. I can hear his voice." I would be like, there's not a single man in the apartment.
I just woke up, all right? Leave me alone.
Raven, I would have just been like,
it's fine. But like, and she would write it as a fine, and I would get fined for it.
That's crazy.
I mean,
you got in trouble for the dress you wore to that Vive banquet?
Oh, yeah. That was
just awful. That like they just like everything she did, it seemed like I feel like which RA we had a rated R movie on our dresser and they came in our room and saw it. We got fined for that.
Okay, so I can't get off of this.
Hey, Andrew, thanks for being such a gracious RA, by the way, man.
Yeah, no kidding.
I could have that college would be thriving if I would have found how I
Yeah, seriously. Kari, put your earmuffs on your child.
Oh, he's asleep.
Okay. Raven, at some point I would have just been like, fuck this, and just drawn like a dick on the window.
I probably should have. I'm like, it's a wonder they didn't end up kicking
That's
out.
crazy.
But then it like turned into this like really like self-righteous discipline that I would get from them. Like the dress that I wore to the Vive banquet. Do you guys remember the Vive banquet?
Yeah.
I remember that dress. No, I'm just kidding. I wasn't there.
It was like, you weren't? Are you sure?
Yeah, I don't think I was there. I would remember it.
Kari actually, like, because like, you know, Hat, you just asked about like working through college. I always had a job through college to like have money to live off of while we were there. And I didn't have money for a dress for this banquet. And Kari actually went out and bought me this dress. It was like such a special gift.
Oh.
So it felt really significant. It was like I did not have the money to even go to the Vive banquet, and Kari bought me this dress. And an RA, the Student Life never told me who, an RA saw pictures on Facebook and said it was like a misrepresentation of Christ in Valley Forge for me to have that much cleavage showing online. No joke. And it was like a church banquet. It was like not like, I was not at the club. I was like, it was so bizarre. But I actually had to have like multiple counseling sessions with Student Life because they quote, they said like a woman only wears that kind of clothes to get a certain kind of attention from a man, and like that I needed to like be addressed for doing that. And honestly, like now, like as more of a grown-up than I was then, I think that that's like a specific brand of sexual harassment to problematize the body type that I have in that setting, to find me for it, to make me to receive counseling for it. I think it's so fucked up. If someone ever did that to my daughter, they would hear from a lawyer, because I think it's so problematic that they did that. Sorry to get like overzealous.
Oh,
like,
no.
that for me. And I think that that's one of the ways in which they routinely fucked people up by positioning like who they were as people as like spiritual problems.
Mm-hmm.
I have like, I mean, you're bringing up very, very real things. Like there's nothing for you to say sorry about as far as like getting into it. Like you're bringing up very real things that I don't think a lot of people have really put thought into, and it hasn't really been brought up on this podcast. So you're bringing up very interesting points. I'm not trying to like be so focused on this, but like I gotta go back to it. I really have to go back to it for just a minute, because like it's baffling my mind. So the rated R movie thing, like I can get it's in the rule book, like you can't have okay. Yeah. It's stupid, but I get it, right? The hula hoop not making the image of the campus, like the image of a like early 1900s veterans hospital that's crumbling, and a hula hoop's like that's what's making it look like, come on, like that's ridiculous. I can't believe that. That baffles my mind. Not to mention like meanwhile we've got mushrooms growing in our bathroom. We've got like it just unreal. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Our ceiling, our drop ceiling literally collapsed on us while we were sleeping. and probably during that they were fining you for having a hula hoop in the window.
Yeah, but you didn't put the ceiling in your window. Clearly that's the issue here, is you put it in the window.
You're right. I never thought of that. You're right. You're very smart.
Yeah. You would have put like a cross in the window, and they'd be like, "Oh, too far. You need to take that out." That's crazy. That's why I asked like who your RA was, because like, I mean, not that like Andrew was like just letting stuff slide. He was, but like even like Carlos and like Josh Lee, like I mean, come on, like we were 24 down, like we were ridiculous. The fact that I didn't get kicked out of Valley Forge is like amazing. But then like even like the fact that like Alex Anderson and like those guys did, like we talked, like Hat and them talk about that in Alex's and the podcast and the flag burning podcast, like they like did the flag burning thing and then they like drank and they got kicked out. Like they didn't, but like
they did not get in trouble for the flag burning. What they got in trouble for was, and how many other people drank and didn't get kicked out. So it's like, and then how many other people drank?
Like the weird inconsistencies.
I don't think I realized.
Yeah. I didn't know that. I thought they got kicked out for the flag thing, but
nope. They got in zero trouble for the flag thing. Zero trouble at all. Now I'm sure it didn't help out the fact that they had that kind of shortly after. But again, like you look at us, was it the same year? No, it was a few months later because it was my second semester. So my second year, your guys' third year. And we'll get into this in a little bit, but when we went to that trip to Jersey and we all drank, right? And then we got suspended. Well, they drank and they got kicked out. And I know of people that drank and got a slap on the wrist. So it's like, where is there was no consistency. The school was able to play favorites with who they wanted to play favorites with. And that's a huge, this is obviously an ongoing topic that I always bring up. So I apologize. So it was crazy.
It just comes up. I mean, it wasn't like, it was our experience at Valley Forge.
Yeah.
Like everybody had a different experience, like good, bad, however, like any which way to lose.
A lot of our fines came directly from student life. Like RDs would like the hula hoop one did not come from an RA. An RD saw it and wrote it up.
It's just crazy. So is the hula hoop the weirdest fine that you got? Like the dumbest one, do you think? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
I'm gonna, after this, I'm gonna go online and order like 50 hula hoops and ship them right to Valley Forge. Won't care now. Valley Forge has changed. Like they've gotten better. They're like, oh yeah, let's hang these up in the chapel. Like, it's crazy.
All right. Well, my next question here. I know we kind of got sidetracked a little bit. I think that's good too. My next question, the question I've posed to everybody else is, if you could take one piece of 24 down, whether it be, a ceiling tile or a brick or something you could take from physical building of 24 down, what would it be and why? I'm going to extend that to you. And Kari, I'll let you answer this too if you want. I'm going to extend that to just any piece of something on campus. Because like you guys do have a very special bond with 24 down, but you also might have a more special bond with a building you lived in or a building that you'd spent time in. So if there's one piece of anything from Valley Forge that you could take as like something to display or something to just you could have and you could have it, what would be that thing and why?
I don't know if you have any thoughts, Kara, if you want to start.
I don't know. I was thinking like, I know this is probably really cheesy, but like almost like a bunk bed, because ever since our freshman year, a bunk bed has been something that like we would just hang out in, talk and have great conversations, laugh. So like it continues like our bond, meeting Raven and memorable. So I don't know, to tie that into 24 down doesn't really make sense, but just I guess more so an experience at Valley Forge. Because many years it was the bunk bed. I'd have to think about a piece of a building for 24 down.
And that's why, like I'm saying, it doesn't.
Yeah.
For you girls, I'm allowing it to extend past 24 down. So I think your answer is perfect. Because again,
you guys still.
Go ahead.
Did you guys still use a bunk bed after Valley Forge after you graduated? When you lived together, did you guys have a bunk bed?
No.
We just shouted across the apartment or wherever we lived at each other.
I feel like the first thing that came to my mind was like the front steps to 24, because it felt like the community gathering place. It was like everyone meet here before, and also we're girls, so we couldn't always come in. So, due to Valley Forge rules, that was often like our 24 down experience. But also I think about like the dining hall tables, like one of those really long tables look really good in my dining room. And it feels like it's like that like togetherness, the togetherness of like the family that I have now that could gather there, and also like the family that I made in college that gathered there, as like a touchstone in the middle of our day.
That's a great answer. One thing you said too that like I don't know if I've ever really like thought of it in this way until just now you talked about the stoop in front of 24 Down and how you guys weren't always allowed in the building. And I don't know why it just hit me now more than ever. 24 Down, we didn't have a lounge. Almost every, I think, if not every other building had a lounge. 24 Down didn't have a lounge. So that stoop was our lounge. That was where like everybody hung out all the time. If we were all living in Bongiorno, well, guess what? You girls could have come and hung out in the lounge in Bongiorno, but we didn't have a lounge in 24 Down. So that stoop was our lounge. So that was really cool. So
Yeah, I love that stoop, and like the memory, like when you mentioned it, Raven, too, like because other people, like I've heard, like it talked about. Francis actually doesn't live far from Valley Forge and was there, and like one day sent a picture of him like sitting on the steps, and it was like the coolest picture. Like it was just like, oh, like you just picture like sitting on it and like all the memories coming back. But like when you were just talking about like picturing the stoop, and like you guys couldn't come in the inside the building, but like when it was nice out, like I remember like we would prop the door open and people would just be coming in and outside, and like you couldn't come inside. So 24 Down, like all the guys would come out and we would just all sit out there and hang out on that stoop, and we would do pictures out on the stoop. And like, sometimes when we were playing Frisbee or other stuff, people would just hang out there and sit and watch. And like, it's just such a great memory. And then like the food table too, like, or the lunchroom table, cafeteria table, whatever you want to call it, like sitting there and just like the fellowship and family, and like hearing you talk, like not only about like having that with 24 Down, but having that extended now to like your real family per se. Like it's just it's a sweet thing. It's just, yeah, it's great.
I think it was really cool, like that you mentioned the stoop, because I feel like when we were coming back from class or lunch or whatever it may be, we would always kind of like walk by to see like if anybody was out there. We would just kind of like take that detour to be like, oh, let's see if anybody's there. And then if you just like one person was there, we'd go over and say hi, and then the next thing you know, like everybody's out, like it was just such a like you wanted somebody to be there almost. So that was like our drive by, and be like, oh, all right, well maybe next time. But it was definitely like a memorable thing now that you bring it up, of just like the effort of wanting to be together, because so a lot of memories are made for sure.
That was like the hardest part of leaving college, right? Like not being able to like walk by and like see friends and just like being near people, like that social input.
Yeah.
That's good. All right, so my last thing here, and we can move on to the other questions after. I just wanted to give you guys each one, since you're both here, give you guys each a chance or an opportunity to share any thoughts or insight on the trip to New Jersey, the infamous trip. I've shared a lot on it. James and I talked in depth on it. But I just figured, in case either one of you want to say anything about it, give your own 2 cents about it, this would be your chance to do so.
It just felt so ironic that like no one was wasted. We like got like in so much trouble. Like the repercussions made the story that went around seem like it was like this wild party, and it was like a very mellow backyard fire. It was like super like small, laid back, and then it turned into like this big to-do.
I don't even think, and you girls correct me if I'm wrong, because I remember the bonfire and hanging out backyard, but we weren't even drinking at the fire, because from my recollection, we got to James' mom's house and we went to the fridge and we immediately had what she had, which was I think 2 Mike's Hard Lemonades and like a tiny little bit of like apple pucker between 7 of us, and we just immediately had it. So it wasn't like we were hanging out by the fire continuously drinking. We literally had it real quick for like a minute or 2, and then that was it.
I don't remember that, and I can't say if the girls did not partake earlier.
Okay.
I feel like I remember the drinking with Hat. in the kitchen right away.
Yeah.
I don't recall it continuing though. And I
Do you recall the cops showing up at James'
Yes.
house?
I was gonna bring that.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you girls, because I'm gonna give you girls a chance to give your side. My side, and I've said this, and I don't mean it in it like throwing your guys' names under the bus or anything like that. But here's my side of the story, and maybe there's more that I don't know. Maybe you guys did drink some more prior that I don't know about. But my side of the story is I remember going, and there was literally 7 of us splitting 2 Mike's Hard Lemonades and like a splash of apple pucker, and that was it. And then we were all hanging out and stuff. And in my recollection, I was like, okay, well, you know, like sometimes when people aren't drunk, but they drink something and they act like they're drunk. And I was like, I think the girls were doing that. They were just acting like they were drunk. And then like whatever, it got loud, and that's when the cops got called. Because my thing was like, nobody was drunk. But maybe you guys did drink more prior. I don't remember that, but maybe you did.
Because my house was like up the street from James's house, and that's I think where we were staying. It's all like I don't remember it like super clear.
I don't remember it clear at all.
So I remember.
You guys remember arguing?
Us?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
I don't remember
Raven?
that.
Do you remember hiding in the closet, Raven?
Yeah.
When the cops came?
Yep.
Okay, so again, like
I do remember that.
you girls were, I know the girls were staying at your house and we were staying at James. But again, and who knows, I might be remembering it incorrectly, but we spent the day at the beach. And it was because it was Kari's birthday. We were like, okay, we got to celebrate. Well, a lot of us didn't know the New Jersey. Wasn't it your birthday weekend, Kari?
I don't even remember
It was
that.
Labor Day weekend, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I didn't remember it was your birthday weekend, but yeah, it had to have been.
Yeah. That's why we wanted to drink, was just to celebrate your birthday. So we were hanging out at the beach. We were hanging out.
Fucking
Right. Exactly. So we're hanging out at the beach the whole time.
No, you wanted to drink because you wanted to drink.
We left and we were going to stop and get alcohol on the way home. Well, we didn't know that New Jersey has laws where the stuff was closed down by the time we left the beach. And James was like, well, don't worry, my mom's got stuff in the fridge. And I thought we went straight from the beach to James' mom's house. But again, I could be wrong. Maybe the girls did go back to your place, Raven, and you guys pre-gamed a little before you came over. I don't know.
Isn't that the time we had margaritas at my house before we went out? Or was that a different time?
See, I was not involved in that.
Everything is very blurry. Like I can't remember that timeline at all.
I know.
I guess the more
I
important.
don't remember arguing. That's news.
Wait, what'd you say?
What'd you say?
I don't remember arguing.
No, me neither.
It was like,
I thought I remember hearing like that's what set off like
that's why the
voices getting
cops were
raised
called.
and yeah.
Like,
Really?
you guys,
So it was
I don't-
our fault.
no, it's really technically nobody's fault. But you guys were, maybe you weren't even
Guys'
arguing
fault,
at.
isn't
Yes, exactly. Maybe you guys weren't arguing at each other, but like there was yelling going on. And that's why the cops got called. And that's why Ty was able to wake up. And then like we all know what happens after that. I guess more than anything, what I really want to boil it down to is what happened afterwards. And we get suspended. And I remember like, you know, the guys, we went and we fought so hard to try and get it like off you girls, because Kari and Aaron are in the soccer team. Raven, you were on a ministry team at the time, right? And we were like, I remember the guys so hard being like, listen, like, first of all, there's nothing wrong with really what happened. Like, okay, sure, we broke a rule, but like, if there's anything we can do extra, blah, 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 gave us their word. Oh, you know, we'll do what we can, whatever. But like, fallout from that, like, what are you guys' thoughts on it?
I mean, we broke a fucking rule. Like, I remember they like wrote us up for drinking and also criminal activity because I was 20 instead of 21. So that was like another like thing that the paper said, like we were getting in trouble for criminal activity.
Was there a hula hoop there too? Was it?
They drew one on the
I can't believe they were criminal activity. Oh, sorry. Anyway.
I know. No, it's like just that crazy. I don't really remember. Like, I think that it was like after that. Like, I remember in the fallout. Well, first, I remember like Ty telling us that he was gonna like let us go to like student life or whatever. And he was like, he do you remember, Kari, were we in your car or something? Right? Like
we were in mine or yours. I remember it was just us three in the car.
It was just the three of us in the car. He was like, I need to talk to you guys privately. And I feel like Kari's car was in that lot. So we get in the car and he was like, I'm really disappointed in you guys. And then he was like, especially you, Kari, because you're beautiful.
So,
and I was like, dude, what the fuck? You're like, I'm about to get suspended and then you're insulting me?
Wow.
So I just feel like the whole thing felt so silly to me. And I remember Dr. Mortensen writing me a note later and said that I was like the model of like restoration for a student who had like repented for like breaking the rules. And so I asked to be put back on the committee that I was on, and they were like, but no. And I remember that's when I was like, screw it all. I think
I'm going to go have a beer now.
yeah.
Right.
After that, it was like anything goes because I tried. I like said sorry. I played by the rules after that, and it still wasn't good enough to like earn my place back on the altar in their eyes. So
like, how is that grace? Like, how's that? Like, if you did all that before you were a student and then came to Valley Forge and wanted to do that, like, ministry team, like, they'd be like, oh yeah, like, you were reformed, you're like a true story, but like, no, because it happened at Valley Forge, like.
Well,
That's a shame.
this story is
That's a
hard for me
shame.
because I don't know if you girls know this, but the guys, I was RA at the time when that happened, and the guys came to me. It was Hatmaker, Rizzo, and who else?
James.
Majetsky.
Okay, James. And they came to me and asked my opinion as a friend and as the RA, and they said, "Hey, this is what we did, and this is starting to go around campus. What do you think we should do?" And that was really hard because, again, I was their friend, but as an RA, you know, like I know it, like Wolfy mentioned, I didn't enforce a lot of this, what I would say are stupid rules. So I kind of picked and, you know, picked what I wanted to enforce, but I was a little bit older when I came. I was 4 or 5 years older than most people when they start college. So I at least had a little life experience. And so I was like, I'm going to treat these people like adults. I'm not going to treat them like kids. So I didn't enforce rules that I didn't have to. But when they came to me, that was hard because I was like, you know, in my opinion, I think it's better to go and confess and say, hey, this is what we did, and be honest. And that will put you in a better position. And that's what they did. Like, and then they got suspended and they got in trouble and all the stuff. And it was really hard because it was just really crappy to see. Then I was it right after that, the basketball team.
Yes. Like
got
literally
caught.
like a week or two after. And
Yeah.
the basketball players got caught. They didn't turn themselves in. They got caught.
Yeah.
Drunk and high. And they were like, we'll suspend them for this preseason game. Like,
yeah. And so, you know, I actually set up an appointment and went to Dr. Mortensen and talked to him after that and told him, I said that, you know, that I just wasn't happy because, I mean, I was pretty upset, but I said, I said, the guys came to me, and as an RA, I told them that they should go and confess. So they even came and confessed when they weren't sure if they wanted to try to hide it or be honest or what. And I said, I pushed them to come and confess to you. And then these basketball players get caught drinking, and they didn't even have near the consequence. And that was.
Yeah, that is like where the bitterness comes on my part, because I mean, as I was the captain of the soccer team at the time, and I even said, I was like, what can I do? Like, I'll do community service for you just to not take my entire season. Like, they weren't giving me any option. Entire season right away, it was gone. And I'm like, just a few games. Like, I get that, you know, like just, and they just didn't show any grace there at all with that. And then hearing the story about the basketball team and yeah. I mean, I know obviously the soccer wasn't as great as basketball. I get that, but that's
no, it was better. It was so much better.
Yeah.
I think in hindsight, I like think with the basketball team thing, they had an advocate, like in John Mack, their coach. So like, I sometimes think it was like, even though I do think student life like was awful, I think that like what they had was like someone to go to bat for them. And the rest of us didn't really have that.
Well,
and Andrew, I value that you did in your role, but like they had like an employee to advocate on their behalf.
Yeah. Well, Kari had an advocate in Ty.
That is true.
the thing that like gets me the most though is that like I think there's one other person too. I think was Ryan with us too. Ryan might have been with us too. Anyway. But I know.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, and I know 100% me and Tom, and I think James, but I know for sure me and Tom went to Mortensen, no joke, at least 3 or 4 times while they were figuring out what they were going to do, and said, like, please put extra punishment on us, like really, like trying to go to bat for you girls. Like, went to him multiple times, and when he told me,
I don't think I ever knew that.
No, I didn't know that either.
He told me and Tom straight to our face, and this is what got me, is he told me straight to our face, I promise you that whatever we decide to do, whatever repercussion there is, we will treat any other student that does the same thing with the same repercussion. And it wasn't 2 or 3 weeks later. And it was like, I don't like, and I get it. They had Coach Mack, but when you've got the head of student life promising a student one thing, and then very shortly after, like showing the other side, that's what it was like. I didn't care that I got suspended. It was like, I went to you humble, tried to so hard fight for these girls. And you're gonna be like, yeah, I don't care. They don't make the school as much money as the basketball team does, you know? So that was my thing.
I mean, like, I wasn't like too pissed about getting suspended. Obviously I would have preferred not to, but like, it was like one of those things that like, I broke the rules. I get it. Like, I'll pay whatever they make me do, whatever. It was like the way I was treated subsequently, that like even having a hula hoop in my window got me a fine. Like, cause it was like truly after that, anything I did, I got in trouble for. And I think that's what I had the biggest problem with, is that like I couldn't earn myself back into their graces. And okay, not to like whatever be too serious about things, but like what lesson did that like cement for me about the church and about Christ and you know, about all of that. And I think especially in those years of my young adulthood, it was like this, like, you're either in or you're out Christianity. It was pretty repelling to me at that time.
I apologize. I tied up the question segment for so long. We can get back in.
No, it was good. I mean, that was like, no, that was great. I thoroughly enjoy like the realness of this podcast and the realness of like that people get. And so like, thank you, Raven and Kari, for like giving your side of the story, but then just talking about like how you felt. Cause like, I mean, you know, that's what's important in life, is how you make people feel. And like hearing that side of things, like it's like almost like, you know, like the scarlet letter was painted on you with student life. And that's a shame. Like that's not what the church is. Like that's not what real Jesus is. And so like, I mean, we're at Valley Forge kind of learning to be the new leaders of the church, the present day church. Like, so like, what kind of like example is student life trying to set in that? Yeah, it's a shame. It really is. Must have been a cool hula hoop.
It was from Walmart.
I was gonna say it had pictures of her and her dress on it. That's what.
Yeah, that's what they were saying. They were like, "Yeah,
in
that
a big
dress
open
you."
space, I like had a big picture printed. That's
That
what I can say.
That's what they told you. They were like, "That dress you wore was what kind of guys are you trying to meet with that dress? Maybe you should go down to Walmart and wear that dress."
Turns out I didn't have to have any cleavage out to meet someone, so
there you go.
They were wrong.
That's a sound bite and a half right there. Oh man. All right, I have your next question. This one is from Bowdwin. So he said, who was your least favorite person on campus?
That's a weird question.
Yeah.
Well, I
It's
will
Matt
say
Baldwin.
this. He had, who's your least favorite person? And then who was your least favorite staff member? So
I don't know. Whoever the bitch is that got me in trouble for the dress. I still never found out who it was.
It was Matt Baldwin.
This is how it all comes out all these years later.
He's like, her cleavage offended me.
I don't know. I don't think I had anybody that I didn't. I don't know. You know, there was like all of that. All that like nonsense with all the fines and everything. And like Amy Miller was like in student life then. But after that, like her and I personally kind of made amends. So I don't really have any kind of like feelings toward her. I just like see her as a player in the system at that time. I don't know. I don't think there's anyone that is my least liked.
I feel like Raven, you were like me, and like you just got to the point where you were just like, I'm just gonna do me, and like I don't care. Like I don't care what. Like there's like this great like thing on Mad Men where it's like this one time like Don Draper gets in the elevator, and like there's this one guy's like, you despise me, and Don Draper's like, I don't even think about you. Like and that's just like how it was about like I'm just gonna do me, and I'm gonna enjoy my time here, and it, like if it's people don't like me for that, like I'm not gonna care. Like I'm just gonna do my own thing.
Yeah, I definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
Well, that was Badwin's only question, so he just wanted to know who you apparently didn't really like.
Yeah. Your fellow. Yeah. So next set of questions also come from a fellow New Jerseyan. I don't know how. Did we land on like what this is called? If you're from Jersey?
I kind of like Jerseyite.
Jersey? No, that's no. I think Jerseyan is the lingo.
I think that's right.
Which
sounds right.
And I feel like Raven, you're like a secret Jerseyan. Like when I think of Jersey, like I instantly think of Majetsky, Baldwin, and Colleen. But like for some reason, like Raven, you don't pop up there as like.
I mean, like
Raven's
it's not like
from Jersey.
Part of my identity. I feel like it is in there. Like right, like it was like I feel like it was definitely like part of Colleen's identity being from Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
It was like I see Kari. She's like pointing at my hoops right now.
Raven just secretly keeps the hoops on. That's like her her statement right there.
That's her secret call back to her.
It's like the source of my power.
I would always like anytime she'd get feisty about something, I'd be like put my hand out for her to hand me her hoop.
That's funny. So the next set of questions come from another person I don't always think of as Jersey, but Junior has a few questions for you. So his first question is, he says, "Hi, Pally." He said, "I'm trying to remember why we used to call each other that ? But I remember it being fun."
I don't remember where that started. I do remember that.
So you guys just called each other Pally all the time?
I mean, I'm sure it started somewhere, and I don't recall. But it's stuck because I definitely recognize that. Like I would have known that was his question if you said that.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, he doesn't remember it either, but that's okay because it's still fun. His other question, he says, "I remember your dad playing I think the saxophone. Does he still play?
He does still play. Yeah. Yep. My dad still plays the saxophone.
What does he play it in? A band, like worship?
Yeah,
Just-
like mostly for worship. He's like in like the church worship team band or whatever. Because we all went down to Jersey one weekend. I remember. Oh no.
That's pretty cool. That's not like a very common thing that you have a saxophone like in your worship
Yeah.
set.
Yeah.
Usually it's like organ, and you're lucky if you have an electric guitar. So
That's true.
and then the last thing he says is more of just a statement. He says, I have pics and vids of me, Frizzell, Kari, and Samson hanging out at your house so many years ago. One of the funniest times.
That feels like a different lifetime. That was a really long time ago.
Yeah. So yeah, apparently Junior has like a ton of videos and pictures and stuff like that saved. I don't even know where he has it saved, but it's like the Disney vault. Like we just got to get it.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah.
Whenever I think of him, I think of dancing with him in Valley Forge Park one night. I don't remember what we were all doing.
I'm sorry, Raven. I have to write you a fine for that.
I don't remember what we were all doing out there, but that's what I think of.
That's awesome. Oh, that's so good. Very cool. Hat, you want to ask the next question?
Yeah, let me pull it back. All right, so next question here comes from 24 Downs. Coolest RA ever, Carlos. Oh, sorry, Andrew. And this is a question he's been asking a lot too, is if you built a 24 Down or Valley Forge escape room, what elements would you include?
This is a question that Wolfy gave me a heads up on, and I don't really get it.
So what are some of like the puzzles that like, so the theme of this escape room is either 24 Down or Valley Forge.
Like it would be, you'd have to like drink a little bit of pucker. You know, like they would relate to 24 Down somehow.
You have to scan and scram to get out of this room, or you know.
Yeah. Okay, I get it. To be fully transparent, I've only done an escape room one time. I mostly like not to be confined. I don't know. I don't know.
It is a tough question.
You'd have to sing the doxology in front of the big Valley Forge symbol.
I'm fucking stuck in that room forever.
That's a good one.
I know the end of it. It's like, Amen. Got it.
Yeah, that's as good as I got.
That's good. That's good. I think Wolfie's got the next one.
Yeah, so this another reoccurring question. This one's the one that I like to ask everybody. If you could have any building or space at Valley Forge named after you, what would you choose and why?
Ready for this one. I was thinking about it. Are you? I would never accept anything on the Valley Forge campus bearing my name. For starters. But what I would do is, if I had the money, I would happily endow a scholarship for every student that got expelled to have their to have their debt and loans paid off, so that at least if they weren't there, they didn't have to carry the debt forward with them, that they'd have a chance to start off fresh.
That's deep.
That was like the coolest answer.
It's a good one.
Right? Because like that's the worst. Like we're at least like, I feel fortunate that I'm like using my degree, even though I'm carrying around this debt, but like to have been expelled, to like lose the opportunity to complete a degree, and carry around the debt. And I know they got a lot of people with some really, really shitty loans, like predatory loans. And I think that's really unfortunate. So I'd love to like take care of those people.
So would that be the Raven Mayfield scholarship fund. Is that what we're calling it?
Yeah, I think like
Be the Raven hula hoop low cut dress scholarship.
you
The
might
cleavage
get
fund
kicked
is what we're
out,
calling
but
it.
trust me, it's for the better scholarship fund.
That's a great answer. That is
really
very well thought out and creative. I like it. That's good.
All right, I have the next set. These come from Phil Anderson. I have to throw it in there. Classic flag burner, but I just have to say that.
Bastard.
I have a lot of thoughts on that episode. I'm waiting to let loose here. So the first thing I think you already said it, but he just said, what was your major again?
Early childhood.
Okay. And then he says, does she remember when Matthias and I showed up to one of her parties and I was drunk swearing up a storm? He said she did not think it was funny. Apologies.
I don't remember.
This would have been when you guys were in Spring City.
Oh yeah, like after we graduated. Everyone took liberties with their freedom post-graduation at our apartment. So there's a good chance no one remembers for that reason. But I don't remember being mad about it.
You guys had parties in that apartment?
I'm going to have to write you a fine for that, Raven.
Just kidding.
Some of us were still students and partying in that apartment.
Oh, yeah.
Because I definitely was.
Those were like some of my, like sometimes when Kari and I are like bogged down with like fucking being wives and moms and these kids are like not stopping saying our names, we'll be like, remember those days when we had that really nice apartment in Royersford and life was really easy?
It was a nice apartment though. Like, let's just like that was actually a pretty nice. Like, I remember my first apartment after Valley Forge, and it was not nice. It was a nice like house that I rented out with my friends, but it was like $1,000 a month, and it was just like pretty shitty and like not in a nice area, like in Harrisburg. But you guys had like
It was like
pretty nice apartment from what I remember.
it was a very nice apartment in a not that nice of an area, right? But wasn't it like almost brand new?
Was brand new, yeah. Yeah, it was really nice.
Nice. Well, that was his only thing he was saying. But I actually, real quick, the thing I wanted to ask you was I've been wanting to start trying to bring this up on people's podcasts. It's funny because you just made a joke about you were saying about your kids when you're tired and all that. I actually wanted you to go into tell us about your kids a little bit, how they're different. Just to get to know them a little bit, because I have two girls, 5 and 6, and they're completely opposite. I just think it's amazing how kids can be so different and being raised the exact same way in the exact same house. So I just thought that might be fun to hear a little bit.
Yeah, I really love to talk about my kids. So Lucia is 4. She'll be 5 next month, which is so wild to me. She's about to start kindergarten next year. She is like, she's incredibly smart. Like, she's kind of like the most wild child. Like, adults will listen to her talk and they'll be like, I'm sorry, what? And she's also got like an attitude to go right with it. But she like knows that like it like carries weight, that like if you can like crack jokes and like, like my husband like gave her a direction the other day. She was like, I'm not your wife. She's 4, right? Like, this is who I live with. This is like my little person. She is like also like incredibly like introspective about the world. One of my girlfriends who's actually not a Christian like always jokes. She's like, I want to like know more about Lucia's brand of Christianity. Because the story, The Little Red Hen? Like the little red hen is like, I have these seeds. Who wants to help me plant bread? And like all the friends are like, no, I'm busy. Like, no. And at the end, like, so like the idea is like all the lazy friends like don't help at all in the whole book. And at the end, when she has the bread, like the friends are like, oh yeah, I'll help you eat it. Lucia is like the moral of the story is like, don't be lazy, reap what you sow or whatever. And that my 4-year-old is like, her heart is like, and she's not like sensitive when she says this, but she's like, if people are hungry, you should feed them. Like she sees like the little red hen as like problematic because she's not taking care of the people in need. And like I feel like that story just really captures like who she is. When we were praying the other night before bed, she was like, isn't it kind of wrong that we only pray for God to protect the people we know? What about everyone else? Don't we want them to be safe too? And so she is like every kind of like sassy and talk back, but also like really has this like really deep sense of humanity that I like really value.
That's really cool.
And she's so much.
She is your daughter, so
Yeah.
I think I know where she gets it.
Benjamin he'll be 2 in May, and he is like just starting to talk a lot lately. So he's like really coming into his own little personality. He's a screamer. Also, probably you know where he gets that from. He's really fun. Like he's like a lot more like easygoing than she is. Like she's pretty particular, and he's more like whatever. Like just like rolls with everything. I'm not sure if like that's like his like God-given personality or the fact that he's the second child. But they mostly get along really well, and they make my family complete. There will be no further children.
We are also done with 2.
Yeah.
2 is a great number.
Yeah.
Now I have 2 girls. How is it having a boy and a girl? Which you said your boy's only 2. Do you find already? Do you have to approach them differently, or like?
I don't find that.
No, okay.
Some people will say like he'll like be like climbing on the edge of the sofa, and they'll be like, "Oh, he's such a boy," and I'm like, but like Lucia is still like jumping off of anything she can climb on. Like, so I don't like feel like I've like noticed any difference in terms of their sex. But like Lucia's like biggest thing that she's into right now is Hot Wheels.
Nice.
Because they're awesome.
They're so awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
it's funny for me. Like I think I'm like I think more about with girls. They're always wanting to cuddle and have me carry them around, and I'm like, are like little boys like that? Like, would I cuddle with my son? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know because I don't have one. So it's really funny just to think, how would I approach having a son? Because I don't know how that would be like. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah. Kara, right? Bodhi's cuddly still, right?
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. Like, if you had a son, he would cuddle with you. Especially like my husband always wants him just to like chill with him, and he's very hyper lately. And he's like, I hate to say this, but when he's sick, he just wants me and he wants me to hold him. That's like the only time I can actually really cuddle with him. But no, he lets us cuddle him, and if he doesn't, we just force ourselves on him and squeeze him. We get our cuddles in.
I was just thinking, I'm like when do I have to stop doing that? Probably now, because I'm like, I'll like hold Lucia or whatever, or hug her and be like, can I have a kiss? And she's like, my body, my choice, my body. Like, okay. Reggie's always Jade's monster.
I try to give Abby kisses and she's like, no. And I'm like, no, you have to give me kisses. And then I'm like, wait, is this going to teach her like that? Like it's okay to let like boys kiss you without consent? Like,
right?
Well, I do think
like
that
you
too
like
with
start
my girl.
asking yourself.
So I'm like, no, just daddy. Only daddy can.
Yeah.
And then she's like, now she's really learning like, no, stop. She's really mad.
How old is your daughter?
She is like a little bit older than 2.
Oh, okay.
So Raven and I both agree, like we can't keep up with the months. So she's like 2 and some months. Yeah.
I know there's so many times I'm just like, only mommy and daddy can like kiss you or whatever. Cause like I'll like pinch my son's butt sometimes. And I was like, only mommy and daddy can do this. Don't ever let anybody else touch your butt.
Right.
And then of course today, like I bent over to get Brooks off the floor and Bodie runs by and smacks my butt real hard and keeps going. I was like, you can't do that to people. So I'm like, am I creating a monster by like by like pinching his and him thinking it's okay to go and touch other people's butts? We might have to have a little discussion, but giving him a break.
When you're like 2 and 3, like it's cute. You can get away with it. When you're like 20 or 30 or 50.
Yeah, when you're like Hatmaker doing it, it's just. Hat, why have you been so quiet? We're talking about all this. What's?
I just, I don't want to bore you guys with my stories about all my kids. So I just
Thanks.
You're very
your
kind.
free time that you have over there. You get to do whatever you want.
Yep.
Sleeping through the night.
What a jerk.
All right, so the last set of questions here come from Colleen. And her first question, a lot of these are questions she's asked everybody, but there are a few specific just for you. So first one is, what is your best and worst memory of 24 Down?
I think my best memory is right. It was our spring of senior year for me. It was like right after chapel. I had to like present my honors thesis during like one of those elective chapels on Friday, and a bunch of people came, and then we took like our like spring picture all together on the steps. And I just remember like just feeling like the energy of that. It was like just having presented and like having like everyone around, and we were like weeks away from graduation. Just like the energy of that moment. It was like one of those like moments, like if you could like bottle it, like in the moment that like you're always gonna want to remember what it felt like. Even though the moment's still there, like even before it's gone, you want to hold on to it. I don't know about worst moments.
I mean, if you don't have one that comes to mind, that's fine.
That's a great.
I mean, I could give.
I was going to just say that's a great best moment. Man, Raven,
it is. Great.
It's very obvious that you work with like, literary.
Help him out, Raven.
You
good
Wolfy,
with you're a literacy.
You good words, me bad speak. You are very good with words, and so like the way that you describe things just very well like paints the picture, and like instantly like when you're describing that moment, I know exactly what you're talking about and can like picture it. And like when you're like it's almost like in the moment too, you recognize like how important it is, like, oh, this is like our senior year, like we're not going to have a lot more of these times, and like just like living in that moment and enjoying it. Yeah, I remember that. It was great.
That's really cool.
Well, I was just gonna say,
Drew.
Speaking of literacy and all that, I have to mention this because it was really funny when you said the words, "Did you read the book?" Wolfy, Hatmaker, and I all look at each other, and I thought it was really funny because you're like, "Did you read the book? What is it? The red hen?"
Oh, the little red hen.
Yeah, you're like the little red hen, and Wolfy, Hat, and I are like,
I don't know why you're making fun of us. I just read that yesterday on my lunch break.
Oh my God. He's trying to catch up on his college reading.
I didn't know it was hen. I was struggling on that word. Thanks.
Having Raven as my best friend always came in handy when it came to papers in college. And her being so well spoken, she would definitely help out with some assignments throughout college. So that was always a little.
It also helped that we had like the same major. So like we were always writing the same paper at the same time.
Wolfy and I actually wrote a paper together. Do you remember that? We did a paper together, and then we were accused of potentially plagiarizing each other.
No.
Yeah.
Potentially.
So we had to meet with he was the teacher that was from Buffalo.
Oh, I feel like I do remember
Yeah,
this.
that was
Dippled.
Rizzo. Yeah. Yeah, he called us in and asked if we like plagiarized each other because we did help each other and work on our papers together. But we were like, no, we didn't like copy each other or anything, but we worked on it together. We told them like we helped each other and we did it
Dude,
together.
I forgot about that.
But yeah,
That's
that was
right.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. I'll write myself a fine for that.
Yeah, thanks. All right.
So Kelly, yeah. Colleen's next question here is, and you both could answer this one. How did it feel to win the girls' flag football game? And what are your memories of that day?
I feel like things that I like are not like super clear, which is so wild. I just remember how intense the games were, right? It was so intense, Kari, right? I feel like people were like name calling and whatnot. I remember Nate and Justin Banks like trying to like teach us, not trying, they like effectively taught us plays on the grass in front of 24 ahead of time. And Kari has a hell of an arm. So, I mean, it was fun. I remember thinking it was a lot of fun.
It's on YouTube, like
Is
your
it
practice.
really?
Yeah. Because I
I've
looked
got-
it up before this. Like I was like, I think it's on there, and I looked it up. You guys probably could play better football than I can, and I'm gonna go out on a limb and probably say better than Hat can. Like they like
Sure.
really they coached you guys like hardcore. Like if Valley Forge had a football team, you were probably better than the potential football team we would have had.
Probably were. I do, right, Kari? Do you remember them like teaching us like actual plays?
I do.
And it was totally effective because like I remember remembering them like when they would call them. That'd be good.
Yeah. No, I definitely remember having a lot of fun with it, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know if you. Go ahead,
I feel
Kari.
like I still have a football from that day or us practicing or something. I have a football that I found in my soccer bag from Valley Forge, and I was like, "Hey, this is from college." I was
Is it
really
like
pumped.
black and like a shiny color?
It was black and yellow.
My dad has one like that at his house. I think it's from the Powder Puff.
Oh yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys remember, but I had that little like portable camera that I always filmed like the 24 down wrestling stuff on and all whatever. And so 24 down as a whole, we were there supporting you girls that day, and I recorded the whole thing. And I don't know if you remember this or not, but I made a little like highlight video type of a thing like that while we were in college. And it was like Christina Aguilera's Fighter is like the background music to it. Anyway, that is still on YouTube. I'll send you guys the link later, but
Oh, that's so funny. I remember like after like some of the like 24 down flag football that the boys played, I remember like some like a video that someone made of them like after they won a championship, and then like we had like cake at our apartment. Like I have like a vague memory of that, but maybe it's because there's pictures that I remember that.
So Colleen's next question here is if you could have changed one rule at Valley Forge, what would it have been?
I think like I don't know about a rule, but if something I could have changed at Valley Forge is the sense of like performative Christianity. That like I like get the whole like biblical like actions are important, but like there was more of a sense of like performing your Christianity for the sake of other Christians. And I think that that's something that like really impacted me in a way. So I think that's something I would get rid of.
Good.
I mean, they kind of use the rules to push that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's yeah. I agree.
So her next one is, what is one thing you miss the most about the 24 Down family?
Proximity. I think just like being nearby. There's like, like I didn't know I had mental health issues until after college when I didn't have friends all around. Just like, I say that like jokingly, but like there is like this great therapy about having access to people who care about you in any respect. And I think that was like really unique in 24 Down, is that like it could be like one of 30 people outside when you walk by, and you could tell them about the good thing that happened or also about the shitty thing that happened that day, and they would genuinely care. And it could have been any one of the people that live there. So I think just like the proximity of like having people nearby to like live life with in a really authentic way, because I think really mundane things became really fun. I remember like house sitting and like having a bunch of people over, like could have been just like a really boring thing, or just like playing cards on the front steps or frisbee, like really boring things otherwise became like important memories because of just all the people being so close.
I totally agree with you on that, because the one of the things I loved about 24 Down is like people had so many different things that they liked, and someone would go to do something that they liked, and everyone would go with them just to support them, and like that's why like there's people that like never listened to rap before, but they were at like every time Rizzo would go and beatbox or he would freestyle, or like they were there. Or like I remember the one time I was playing a video game in 117. I was playing Shadows of Colossus on PlayStation 2, and it was like I was surrounded by like a bunch of people, like the English twins, Rizzo, Hatmaker, all these people would just come and watch me play the video game. And this is a one-person video game, but they would just sit and watch because I was really enjoying the game. And so they would just come and watch. Like, that's what I loved about 24 Down, is anything that people did, there was always someone there with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was always such a special thing. So
you guys would have like Guitar Hero concerts.
Oh yeah.
Hatmaker, he's the king right there.
So Andrew, you gotta win that lottery.
I know.
I'm gonna try.
You can buy that island so we can all live on.
I'll try. I'll do my
I
best.
do have to point out the funny thing. I mean, I completely agree. Like, I wish like we all lived. Like the fact, so like I live really close to Matthias, which it took us like 6 years to realize that because we're complete idiots. But like, and then like Andrew doesn't live that far away either from us. Like, so like a bunch of us still live in Pennsylvania, which is
Frizzle.
nice. But,
I
like,
just found out Frizzle lives in Lancaster. He's 20
Frizzle
minutes
lives in
away.
Lancaster. It's crazy.
Oh, really?
Like,
Yeah.
You're all like right there with each other.
Yeah. So like there's still a bunch of us like relatively like in like the Valley Forge area, aka Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
But like just like if we could all just like be like that much closer to each other would be like pretty awesome. But I do have to point out like the funny part that like Raven, you and Kari live 15 minutes apart from each other. So
It is.
and I mean you live like
Do you still live in Michigan?
in Michigan. So
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm only 4 hours from Rizzo through Canada. That's probably the closest person.
But you live close to Matt Wolf.
That's true. Actually, that is true. Matt Wolf lives about 45 minutes from me. That is true. That's about it. Everybody else is 8+ hours away.
You know what's so wild about where we live now? One time, Kari's, I think it was your youth group, had like this like, or it was like you know how like the AG has like the districts for like youth ministry, like conventions or whatever. I guess like the Potomac district had their annual youth convention like literally up the street from where I live right now. And it's so wild. Sometimes I like say to my husband, like, it's so crazy when we pass the place where they had that convention. I remember Kari and I coming down like with her church youth group at that time. And like, I could have never imagined then that I would live like 4 miles away, buy a house in Virginia, who I had no connection to Virginia at that time, and raise my family here. Like, it's so wild when I think about it. Oh my gosh.
Sorry. He just jumped over. Random question. Do you have Wawa where you live?
Do you have Wawa? There's a Wawa like right outside of my neighborhood.
Hey, don't do that. You're getting a fine, hat maker.
For those listening, Hatmaker just put up a finger. I'll let you guess which one. Man,
There
that's
are no
awesome.
bad fingers.
We don't have Wawa in Harrisburg. We don't have Wawa.
That's so
Like,
awesome.
I'm
yeah.
in Pennsylvania, and we don't have Wawa where I live, which sucks.
Oh, okay, but how far do you have to drive to a Wawa?
I mean, like 1 hour versus like
Yeah,
16 hours. What's the difference? I'm not going to drive an hour. Like, again, this goes back to like having a child. I can't just go to Wawa whenever I want, man. I have a kid.
I can go Wawa whenever I want.
I don't want to hear that. So Colleen's last question here, and then she's got a statement afterwards. But her last question, this is what she asks everybody. So again, Kari, you can answer this if you want. Is when are you going to get the 24 down tattoo?
Not gonna happen. I would never.
Oh, thanks for being on, Raven. We got to go now.
Listen, my husband.
Out of time.
My husband has like several tattoos, and like I thought I don't have any tattoos, and I thought like when we got married, like maybe we would like get like a tattoo together. And like, I'm happy being married to him, also happy raising a family with him. And I'm still not sure if I could get a tattoo with him. And we're coming up on 7 years. So like, I mean, yeah.
Well, that leaves all the pressure on you, Kari. So
yes.
Go ahead. When you get it, Kari.
Dun, 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 dun.
And it kind of sucks because I kind of like tattoos. But to be honest, I don't know.
What if you get the 2 and Raven gets the 4?
And
then her husband gets the down.
Why does that sound dirty?
Yeah.
That's kind of sound dirty.
The husband gets the down.
Yeah.
That's good.
We could be creative with that one.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get her drunk and go take her to a tattoo parlor.
Well, she probably yells when she's drunk. Apparently, we've learned.
Apparently. I mean, I guess I can't be like surprised that Kari and I got in a fight because that did probably happen every time we were drinking.
And it would always make me so angry because she'd try to pull out scripture and read the Bible to me after like we're both intoxicated. I'm like, I'm not ready for this right now. And she'd be like, we just need to sit here and read some scripture. She'd get real, like we'd have like an emotional attack with each other, an argument about something that doesn't make sense. We'd come back to each other and then we'd like have a serious talk. I'm like, I can't do serious right now. I don't do serious. Yeah.
That's great. So here's her last thing, and again, it's not a question. She just wanted to say that she misses you so freaking much. Thank you for being a part of the best moments of her life. Can't wait to see your beautiful face again. So that was from Colleen.
You forgot the XOs.
Oh yes, there's XOs and XOs, but I don't know how to.
You just say XOXO.
Fair enough. So, I mean, that kind of wraps up the question segment.
Oh, we still have one more before we forget.
Go ahead.
We do have Buddhas.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that before we forgot here. Buddha did say he wants to know your opinion on the weirdest and smoothest guy on 24 Down.
Like 2 separate. So who's the weirdest and then who's the smoothest?
Who is the smoothest?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, Ty was really smooth whenever he said his line.
Kari, how did it make you feel?
I don't know. I'm a married woman. It's like, I'm just kidding. Does Buddha get like smoothest for like that question?
Sure.
If you think it's him, yeah.
Kari, do you remember that time? Oh my God. every time I like see that recording thing in the corner, I'm like, do I say this out loud or keep it in? I remember one time we were like on the floor in 24, and it was that time that Soulja Boy song came out, and we were like,
Superman?
and we were like, Buddha, what does that mean? And he was like, come on, I can't tell you that. And we were like, I don't know, like, what does that mean? And he was like, it means, no, I can't tell you. And Kari and I just like kept playing dumb. I'm like, no, I don't know.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, do you
All
have
right.
a weirdest?
Yeah, you gotta have a weirdest, or if they're on this screen, that's okay. We'll be
Yeah,
good.
I'm not going to take any offense. Or...
Yeah, no.
I mean, like, to be fair, everyone was weird in their own way, right? Like, everyone had like their own like weird thing.
For sure.
And
Yeah,
everyone found
sure.
someone who like was really into their weird thing.
Yeah.
So,
Some people loved Guitar Hero. Some people, I mean, I just did goofy stuff. Some people pooped on the floor. Everybody had their own weird thing.
See, Kari and I were not privy to that kind of stuff.
Did you guys, let me ask you this. Did you guys know about like all the crazy like on floor shenanigans? Because like there was a lot of weird stuff that happened like just within the walls of 24 Down. Did you guys know about a lot of stuff?
I don't
or have you...
think so.
No.
Okay, did you girls ever have someone crap on your floor in your apartment?
Never.
Okay, I had a feeling.
So you never had Mike? You never had Mikey over to your apartment?
Oh my god.
Oh, that's a perfect example, Hat. That's
You guys
wonderful.
never do anything with this?
That we knew about.
We did know about that.
Yeah, because you lived like just around the corner, kind of. You probably
And they could probably hear
heard
it.
us screaming.
They probably heard Buddha jumping in the shower fully clothed. Wasn't he hanging on the railing or something?
Somebody might have done that, yeah.
We like got to hear all those stories like secondhand.
Are you sad that you missed out on that?
I mean, like, I personally never would have made the decision to put icy hot on my genitalia, but like, to each their own. Your body, your choice.
There.
I never thought I would hear my body, my choice, like in that context.
That should be Icy Hot's new tagline.
That was great.
Was that Buddha's only question, Drew?
Yeah, it was.
Okay. So, I mean, at this point, we're gonna kind of like slowly transition out, and work on ending this episode. So, I think here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna read a few plugs here in a minute, and then after that, I'll give you my last words. I'll let Andrew give his last words. Then Wolfy can give his last words, and then Kari, and then Raven. You guys, take as long as you want. If you want to share any other stories, feel free to do do so when it gets to your point. But yeah, I think that's kind of how we'll do this. So real quick, few little podcast plugs that I like to do every episode. First thing is, if you want to email us for any reason, 24downpodcast@gmail.com. You want to follow us on Twitter, we are at 24down podcast. We have 2 Facebook pages. There's one for the podcast itself. It's a public page. You can like it, find updates for when guests are coming on or when episodes get posted. There's a private Facebook page as well, that we're not trying to keep it private to keep people out of it. We just don't want people that we don't know to join. So if you know us, if you're part of the 24 Down family, get a hold of us and we'll get you in that page. YouTube, we've got a YouTube page as well where you can see all these podcasts in video form. And then lastly is the Store Frontier site, and that's storefrontier.com/24down. It's where you can buy a bunch of shirts, different 24 down designs and logos and things like that. So check all that stuff out. So now, like in closing, I guess for me, I guess first and foremost, this is Raven's episode. Kari has joined us, so I do want to say something to Kari first as well, and that is, I know prior to recording, we were saying, Kari, you need to have your own episode as well, which Raven can also be a part of, and you were kind of hesitant. So everybody listening, message Kari and tell her how much you want to hear, because I think ultimately, like, a lot of people do want to hear an episode from you as well. So I think people got a lot out of you being a part of this, but they will want to hear your own episode, and I'm sure they will want Raven to be as part of that as well. So sorry to put you on the spot, Kari, but it is what it is. But yeah, like Raven, like, I mean, I just want to say, like, you, we've talked a lot tonight about how you are able to just articulate things in a way that is so much better than any of us could do. But I don't think that's your strongest feature. I think your strongest feature is your friendship and your like your loyalty to the people that were close to you. I know, like, you and I were never like best friends or anything like that, but I knew, and there were multiple times where, like, I went to you with serious things and, like, I could confide in you. And I know, like, me personally, like, I really appreciate that like you had that ability to see everybody for who they were and to accept them and to have fun when we needed to have fun, but to be serious when we needed to be serious. So I don't know. That was, to me, that was the biggest trait that stood out about you, was your character, was your true nature, your friendship, and everything like that. So I appreciate you coming on. It's been a blast catching up, hearing your story, and you also can pressure Kari to get on her own episode as well. But it's been a blast. So Andrew, go ahead.
I just want to say it's been awesome. I'm really glad I was able to be on this podcast with you. I think it's very fitting that Kari was on with you, because you guys were always together. You guys were such good friends, that it makes sense. It feels like going back in time and just hanging out, talking with you guys. And I mean that in the best way, that, like, where Kari was, Raven was there. Where Raven was, Kari was there. And it was awesome, But no, I don't even know, honestly, if we have talked since I graduated. But I'm just very impressed by you. To hear the job that you have, you're moving into this new job. I pray the best for you. But I'm very impressed by just how you speak, how, I know that the kids and the people you work for are going to be very impressed, and you're doing a lot of good. And it's good to know that there's people like you in the education system. And I mean that because my kids are going to, kindergarten and first grade. And so to know that there's people that really have a heart to teach them and to care for them is very encouraging. So it was awesome just to hear. I appreciate you being open and honest, and just not trying to present something that you thought maybe we'd want to see, but you were just yourself and you were honest. So thank you for opening up and sharing. And I'm really glad I was able to be a part of this.
Wolfy?
Me love podcast. Me love Raven. No, I mean, this was so good. This was great. I will say Ty was only half right. Raven, you are also beautiful. No, seriously though, you are a beautiful person and, like, a beautiful soul, and, like, I just mean that from, like, depth of my heart. I mean, Kari, like, you and Raven, like, you guys were inseparable in college, but, like, I love you guys so much. I wish, like, we stayed in touch more. And, like, I don't blame that on you or me. Like, that's just life. That's just what happens. But, like, you guys are probably there was very little people like I stayed in touch with like directly after school and like even visited. And like I know I came down and like stayed at your apartment and like visited with you guys. You know, you were at my wedding. I just appreciate your guys' friendship so much. And that's why I love this podcast, because it's just that chance to reconnect and get back together and get back to like how things were. And like truthfully, like it's how it felt. Like it's how this podcast, like this last hour or 2 hours, however long it's been, like that's how it felt. Just being back together, just like hanging out in college. Like you guys both, and like Raven, like you guys are family. And I don't even remember the quote because I'm not good with literacy. But like, you know, somebody said like something like a friend is like a good friend is like whatever, like somebody you can hang out with, like, but a good friend is somebody like that you could not hang out with for like a year, and like it just picks up from page one, like where you left off. And like I think that just goes back to like what you were saying too, Raven, like 24 down, like what we have here, our family, like it's about being authentic. And I think that's who you are as an individual too. Like you're not going to pretend to be somebody you're not. Like and who wants to live that way? Like it sucks. Like, and so like being able to find a family like this where you can be yourself, like, and you are unabashedly yourself, and like that's what's one of the best things about you. Like that's what makes you beautiful, like is like your confidence and just being like I don't, like we talked about, like I don't care what you think about me, like I'm gonna do me. And so like having that part of this community, like that's real Christianity. Like when you really, like, you know, we talked about like that's not performance Christianity. Like I think it this might be a bold statement, but I don't really care. Like 24 down might have been like some of the best Christians at Valley Forge. Like it, because we accepted people for who we were, who they were, who we were. And we didn't apologize for it. And like, and we loved each other. We loved our family. And like Raven, like you were a great example of that. Like you're a very loving person and a giving person. And like hearing you talk about your kids, like, and talking about like, you know, like you talk about like using your degree and your passion in life now, like you can hear that in just when you're talking about it. And like, that just shows like, that you're really who you say you are. And that's a great thing to be, especially when you're a really good person. So thank you so much. Like this was, I will say, like I had like a list of people, like when I immediately like started getting involved in the podcast, of like the first people I probably thought of, like, oh, I would love to get them on. And I would say like Raquel was probably one, Baldwin was one of them, but like Kari, you and Raven. So Kari, you do have to do your own episode, and I'm unrelenting, so I'll keep harassing you. If not, we'll let Ty know, and he'll harass you. But Raven, like I was so excited. Like I just reached out and was like, let's do this. And you're like, yeah, let's do it. And it just made my day. So thank you so much for like, for coming on, and just love you. So glad that we can get to reconnect.
Thank you guys.
I'm really glad I joined this tonight. Not a surprise. I mean, Raven was joining. I'm right there by her side. We even talked about it a little bit. Like it's like, because us being together has been so many years that I feel like my memory about things are blurry. I mean, I think back at college and certain things, and I'm like, I don't remember that. I mean, for goodness sakes, we talked about some things that came up and we were like, I don't remember that. And it was just nice, you know, bouncing ideas off of each other and listening to stories and remembering. This is just really cool to just be on here and reminiscing about single life, no responsibility. As I'm sitting here holding my child who's making my arm go numb. But yeah, it was just really great. I'm glad I made myself do this, because it is hard to keep in touch. I'm terrible at it. So I love that you guys have started this whole thing to give the opportunity for us to reconnect with each other. And so yeah, thanks. Keep it up.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm glad for the persistence. I think that's what it took. I feel so fortunate to all these years later to still be included in this community. I couldn't have imagined then what would exist today. And for building this space where people can have access to one another in a world that has told us to let go of the things that were and live for ourselves. You've reminded us to kind of reconnect and find that friendship again. And I'm so thankful for that. Before coming on tonight, I was like nervous. I was like, I was different then. Like, how will I talk to these people now? Like, will it still fit? And Wolfy, you were like, it feels just like hanging out. It'll feel fine. And I'm happily surprised to like say that it really did feel that way. And it feels so good to like connect. Kari, watching you there holding your baby and still here by my side. And just hearing from all of you and the way you've made it a podcast so people can like connect via podcast. It's just so remarkable and a testament to the friendship that was. So thank you so much for creating a space where I could be honest and open and have a lot of fun remembering. Thank you.